Mental health affects us all. With more and more becoming diagnosed with mental health issues, many are seeking ways to help improve this. Mindfulness is one of those options. Today, I'm going to be exploring how mindfulness has been incorporated into schools and universities as well as the workplace.
I became interested actually at uni. I was having coffee with a professor, and a colleague of hers kind of showed up and started talking about a book that she was writing about chakras. So I sort of got into that a bit and just sort of went down the rabbit hole, really. Just kind of latched onto the idea of meditation and tried it and really loved it. To me, mindfulness just means essentially, at the bare bones of it, being present in the moment, really, and being aware of what's happening, being aware of your feelings and your thoughts.
It was really through being involved and interested in Buddhism. I've been involved in Tibetan Buddhism many years, and and that's kind of how I got interested in mindfulness, because mindfulness comes out of Buddhism. And one of my teachers was very much involved in developing kind of mindfulness courses coming out of Tibetan Buddhism. Mindfulness means maintaining presence of mind in what you do. I think probably presence of mind is a good word, that you sort of fully with what you're doing while you're doing it. So you're not just getting carried away with thought and speech. You're holding yourself with some awareness.
Mindfulness can take many forms. Mindfulness can be anything from meditation to yoga to simply going for a walk. I wanted to find out more about the wellness opportunities available to students. I even found out there are university courses on the topic.
Students can access personal support, a drop-in listen in the ear from our student advisors. We also have other wellbeing activities, including mindfulness for students, yoga. We have usually, out with pandemic years, we usually have 3 wellbeing events every year. We also have a dedicated counselling service with now 4 qualified counsellors, and they offer up to 6 sessions for students who would benefit from counselling.
Quite a range of things that we do at UWS to support wellbeing. Things that our kind of services involved in include, we've been running a group of workshops which have been called the Wellbeing Wednesday webinars, and they have been a way to have various kind of sessions on a whole range of wellbeing topics.
We were discussing, I believe it was an RE unit in Hinduism, and we talked about the chakras, and it was really by accident. Really, one of my students kind of asked about it, and then we went down the meditation sort of rabbit hole, and one of them kind of said, well, could we do that sometime? I thought, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. We could do that in class. And it just kind of grew from there. More children were interested in it.
And the purpose of our course isn't to teach mindfulness. We do teach mindfulness in it, but we're actually training people to teach mindfulness. So it's a sort of specialist teacher training course. So at the beginning, we go through some in-depth mindfulness practices, and the students take part in something called the Mindfulness-Based Living course, which is a course designed by the Mindfulness Association. We have academic classes, which are just like standard academic workshops, where we're teaching them psychological content and also a lot of research methods. Only half is taught by UWS staff and half are taught by staff at Mindfulness Association.
Schools and universities aren't the only ones with mindfulness available to students and young people. I spoke to Nicky, Logue and some of her team at Hydrogen, an award-winning social media agency based in Glasgow. They introduced a wellbeing budget for their staff.
I decided to introduce a wellbeing budget during the lockdown period of the COVID pandemic. So all of my staff obviously had to go and work from home very quickly, and it was very new to us. We were primarily office-based beforehand, and then we went from 100% office to 100% being at home. And I really started to feel that a lot of my team were starting to feel a bit stressed, and they weren't able to kind of make the distinction between not working and working?
I use my wellbeing budget for my gym membership primarily. Since I've got into working in office spaces, the weight has gone on, needless to say. I used to work in retail and be running around a lot, so it wasn't something I had to consider, whereas now, between sitting behind a desk for a lot of the day, as well as being a little bit older than I was when I worked in retail, keeping an eye on my health and on my weight is a really important thing, and having that little bit of me time when I'm at the gym is also really good for my mental well-being.
Well, I wanted to improve my well-being mainly. I've always wanted to, I was sort of struggling with getting enough exercise, and when the wellbeing budget was made as an opportunity for us to kind of use it for ourselves, I thought it would be a good opportunity to get a gym membership. So that's what I did. It's not been it's so easy to get to the gym sometimes, but I feel like having somebody give me money for it, I'm more likely to use it, because it was sort of a gifted money in a way. It's like I feel more obligation to actually make good use of it. So.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
The COVID-19 pandemic had an impact on everyone's mental health. I decided to dig a little deeper and find out how much of an impact it made on students, as well as those at Hydrogen.
I think it's had a high impact. It's been quite negative for some students. Some students have liked being at home. Mental health has deteriorated because of the pandemic, that they're struggling with staying in. They've struggled with, a lack of socialisation. There's been lots and lots of things that have really impacted on students' mental health.
I think it's been really mixed, the pandemic, and the impact that it's had on students' mental health. And I think there'll be a real variety of experiences and of how that's impacted people.
I think it's been a roller coaster, actually. So I remember at the start of the pandemic feeling like it was quite a novelty. It was actually really nice to be at home with my kids and to be able to go out for walks every day, and it was quite nice weather, all that kind of stuff. And I think it was just, there was a feeling of kind of we're all in it together and a bit of camaraderie. And then quite quickly, reality began to set in, and I really took a bit of a dip, I would say, mentally. I found it really frustrating working from home after a while, really tiring as well.
I actually look back at the first lockdown as quite a positive time, because it was an opportunity for myself, my wife and my daughter. We went for nature walks, we explored where we lived, and I actually will always look at it as a very special time. I suffer with a bit with anxiety and depression occasionally as well, so it's been difficult to manage my own mental health.
I started Hydrogen mid-COVID, so I started in October 2020, but before that I was on furlough. So I started when the full company was working from home. I struggled to work from home. I was one of the first people back in the office. I've still not worked from home in about 5 months. That is a last case resort to me. So I think the more time in the office, the better. So I think COVID really impacted work life.
There were a couple of moments where I wasn't sure if if I should still be in the job that I'm in, if I was performing well. And then also being left alone with your thoughts all day, as opposed to having conversations with the people that you work with day to day, can often let things going on outside of work really sink in, and it might start to impact how you perform on your day to day.
I quite liked staying home and working from home. I was fine with it because I'm naturally introverted. But for a lot of people, they really struggled, and going back out into the world was such a big, scary thing, because in their mind, they hadn't left for so long. So life was different. So I would say, honestly, I think we're going to see in the next few years, we're going to see what happens with them and their mental health, and how, it has affected them.
I asked Eva about the benefits of practicing mindfulness and whether she can see it being introduced properly into schools.
To be perfectly honest with you, I think everybody should meditate. I'm definitely not one of those people who's kind of annoyingly like, do you know about meditation? You should try meditation. It's so great. I would never push my beliefs on anyone else because I don't know how that is. But I think that the benefits that I've experienced as a human being who lives in this world and is, sort of trying to make sense of our existence and asking those bigger questions, the benefits from meditation have been, I can't even express with words how amazing it's been. I feel like the introduction of meditation as a common practice in primary schools, unfortunately, is not going to happen anytime soon, and it's not going to happen quickly. I'm hoping that it will. I think it would be amazing. I think that if children learned certain skills now in the formative years, when they become adults, they're going to be able to deal with things better. Things are not going to be as difficult. I do really believe that. I think that having those tools to cope with the injustices or things that happen, or the pressures of high school, having that suit of armor is, it's priceless, really.